Beautiful humans, this is a short, sharp video on how to create content that does not sound like the same recycled garbage, maybe, chat GPT, copy paste crap that the rest of your competitors are putting out. I want to share with you how to be unique, how to stand out, how to actually create a blue ocean for yourself so you attract really, really great clients because you sound so different to everyone else. I'm just going to walk through what has worked for me. So back in 2020 and 2021, I was pushing the business. We had an agency first, grew that from 0 to 100K a month in 9 months. Then I started a coaching program and grew that from 0 to 347,000 cash collected in a single month, 16 months later. And what drove that was not unique content, right? It was not me like putting myself out there, owning my space. It was push energy. Literally the goal was like create the least amount of content I need to get inbound leads. And the problem is when you have weak marketing, you have very hard sales, right? So you've got to do a lot of following up. You're messaging all the people that like slightly engaged with your story or whatever. And it's a volume game, right? You really have to push. The big shift for me occurred when I just stopped caring, as funny as that sounds. And in early 2023, I was just like, dude, I don't care if I go viral, if I get clients. I had a handful of clients, I had enough money to pay my bills, and I was like, I just want to create for creation's sake. I want to help people. I want to share my unique point of view. And what ironically happened was when I killed everything from the old business model, I went from a team of 13 down to a team of 4, down to a team of like a half. I had a part-time VA. I then had the most insane growth period of my life. We went from basically no revenue once I was starting over to hitting 95,000 a month in profit in 82 days. And then growing that to about 170, 180,000 a month of recurring revenue with just me and a VA about 6 months later. And a lot of it was down to how I was approaching content and how I changed the way that I was showing up online. So the first thing I want you to understand is that there are different stages of content and how you create a content strategy based on where you're at. And most people start with the third stage, which is omnipresence. It's this idea we see Gary Vee and Alex Hormozi, and specifically Gary Vee. He's like, post 100 times a day. And so if you're a beginner, you go, okay, let's do that. And now with like AI, that's actually possible, right? You can take a YouTube clip and then cut it up. And what's happening is you're typically pushing out a lot of very average content. You haven't honed your voice, you haven't sharpened your message, and now people are getting to know a really poor version of you. But that's what we think we're supposed to do. And then we obviously do that, we burn out, it doesn't work, and then we kind of look back at where we should actually look at. And so where most people should look at is the stage that I call volume. And so what volume is it's not about omnipresence where you're putting out a ton. It's that you're putting out content and you're not overthinking everything you're putting out. The reason is you're not very good yet. You haven't got your voice sharpened, you haven't got your messaging right. And so what you're trying to do is simply hone the skill and the mastery around copywriting, around video, around speaking. It is not enough to say like, go put out good content. You don't know how to create good content yet. You haven't had a video that produces $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in revenue. Once you hone your skills, you get there. But when you're starting out, it's about sheer volume. And I don't mean across all the platforms. I mean like pick a platform and just be super consistent, like hammering away. You're finding your voice, you're finding what's resonating. And then from there, you get to a stage that most people try and skip over, and they go from volume to omnipresence, which is value. This stage is about less, but better. This is where I am in my stage of business, where I am not trying to pump out a ton of content. I'm also not trying to be omnipresent across all the platforms. I'm trying to continue to sharpen my message, find my voice, find my unique edge, so that through that content, my unique tribe that connects with me is attracted to me. And I just want to walk you through the 4 key ideas that have helped me really significantly to do this. And at the end, I'm going to show you where to get a cheat sheet, where I'm going to give you like the more advanced stuff. And there's no opt-in, it's literally just a Google Doc. I'll walk you through how to get that, but I couldn't cover this in the video because I have a call in 13 minutes and I didn't want to make this video too long. But I tell you what, the cheat sheet is really good. So here is the first thing you need to understand. You need to shift from copying other people to modeling other people. What do I mean by this? Well, the big mistake that you and I can make is that we follow all of who you would consider to be your competitors, right? And so I see this all the time. Great coaches taken out because they see this guy doing this and they think they should do that exact thing. And worse than that, sometimes you get pulled into this idea of like, well, what if I just sneakily copy and paste their stuff? Obviously, that's an absolutely dog crap move. Don't do that. But one of the things that can happen is you become heavily influenced and you sound like an echo and not a voice. And so what you want to do is figure out how to model other people's content. And so how I think about this is all the time, I'm modeling all sorts of content creators. I don't care if they're in my industry or not. I've seen videos that like pop off, do really well, and I take an idea from it. I go, oh, that's really interesting. So one of the things that I saw crop up about 9 months ago, maybe it was a year ago, was this guy who I didn't know at the time, who I now know has become a really good friend, a guy called William Brown. And he was literally sitting at his computer and he had a cup of coffee and his British accent, and he was just ranting. And that one video that he ranted, I think it was like how to get to 10K a month, like ASAP or something like that. It was a great video, but there was no editing and no thumbnail and a really basic video title. And I saw that and I didn't go and recreate the video. But what I did was I was like, oh, wow, I hate editing. I hate thumbnails. I hate all, like, I'm just gonna do me, my version of that. But it gave me permission to model that of like, oh, YouTube actually like pushes those types of videos and people clearly wanna see them. And I've done that constantly where I'm looking at different industries. I'm looking at comedians, I'm looking at artists, I'm listening to podcasts of all sorts of people. And it's helping me to learn the principles. You don't just want to understand that something works, you want to understand why something works. And so one of the things that I've done in the past, I've gotten like people that I've followed and I've loved like different posts that they've done. There was one guy in particular, I got my VA to create a Google Doc of all of that guy's content. So, and it was like 100 pages of different Facebook posts. And I would literally use that to model. Again, I never copied a single idea. I would go through and I was like, that's a really interesting way of approaching this topic or the question that he asked or the way that he framed it. And then it would spur me in a different direction, but with the same principle. What we need to learn to do as creators, if we want to stand out and not create copy paste garbage content like everybody else, is we have to develop our unique point of view. But in order to do that, we often have to be inspired by other people's unique point of view, and that's why modeling is so important. The second step is going to be counterintuitive, but this has been the most powerful for me to create compelling, influential client attraction content. And it's having way more margin in my life. I want you to really think about this. Like, when do you feel you're most creative? Chances are it's not between a sales call and like a team huddle and a 20-minute gap and then you put out like a banger post. You're probably in survival mode at that point. That's not where you're gonna be most creative. You're most creative when you have margin in your life. That's why our best ideas come to us in the shower. It used to be the toilet, but now we take our phones in there. And for me, creating more margin in my life has allowed me to create consistent content and increase the caliber and kind of skill in my content because I'm able to think through things more. Clear thinking equals clear communication. So if you are really struggling to create content that connects with people, that converts, I'm telling you right now, you probably don't have a copywriting deficit, you have a creativity deficit. You were simply trying to like brute force your way through this post or YouTube video because you have this obligation and you've got this short amount of time. And so you're just putting out this stuff that you're not proud of. You know it's not really going to do well because you're not really prioritizing it. And when I started to slow down, and you don't have to copy and paste my timetable. I have infinite time within a day to feel creative. I have so much blank space. But it is prioritizing it in some way. Like maybe half an hour a day, you go for a walk without your phone and maybe just take a notepad and you think through things. This is really the power of creating unique content, is you create unique thoughts, unique perspectives. One of the most powerful angles of content is sharing what you're doing or what clients are doing, what's worked, what hasn't, lessons. It is not so much how-to content, it is how I content or how they content. And you can only cultivate that by creating the space to bring awareness to your life. When you're always go, 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 and you're just moving through life at a fast pace, it's so hard to capture those moments. Like for me, I know that I'm gonna take these ideas and I'm gonna integrate them into my community call that I'm having with some of my crew in 13 minutes. I also know that there's going to be questions and challenges and things that come up on that call that if I allow it to sink in, it'll go into my video ideas notebook on my phone and then I'll be able to think through it even more. All of life is just filled with content ideas. It might be a podcast you listen to in one sentence unlocks an idea, but most people are just consuming so much and they're over-consuming and they're under-thinking. You have to create a rhythm of being able to be your most creative, being able to think through things at a deep level. That is what really allows you to create powerful content and develop the domain mastery of copywriting, persuasively speaking, and things like that. The third thing that I have really noticed over the last 2 years, and this is incredibly true if you want to attract higher caliber clients, is the way I would say it, you need to develop like a unique gospel. Now, basic marketing in this book, Breakthrough Advertising, talks about this idea of a unique mechanism, right? And so for me in 2021, that was called the automated group funnel, right? How to get to 100K a month with the automated group funnel. And it crushes. But people can be so burnt out on hearing like the new unique thing. And the problem is like you have the unique thing, but if it actually works, chances are a bunch of other people are promoting that same thing, cold email, short form, whatever it might be. When you really start to develop a whole unique worldview within your offer and within your niche and within your market, for me, I call it the value creator way. It is not any one small thing. It is the unique way I see everything. And I think about it almost like a unique gospel. I'm a preacher here to evangelize my worldview. My worldview has come through tons of trial and error, tons of past experiences, lots of thoughts and reflection. And this is the unique way that I see business, specifically for how I do it. And then my job is to create disciples around that unique gospel. Now, even this thought might sound really kind of far out there for you, but what I'm really trying to help you understand is that people are drawn to people with original thinking. And so if you're actually trying to develop this connection with your audience that has people see you as an authority or a thought leader, you have to lead people in a way that they have not been led before. Simply saying the same things in the same way, making the same promises, making the same guarantees is not the way to do that. You have to figure out how to come at things from a unique way, not because you're trying to be creative, but because you are a unique human. And so with you, you'll bring unique convictions, unique beliefs, unique values. The more time you create to think, the more you model from other people who do a great job of that, the more you can develop your own worldview that authentically filters through everything you do. And number 4, before I have to jump off to a call, is honing your voice. And this is where Hormozi was really helpful for me in the early years. And I don't listen to a lot of his business advice these days, even though he's like someone I really, really love and admire. He said something recently that I've been thinking so deeply about. He said, authenticity is what you would do if you had no consequences. The best version of you, the best content you can produce is the most authentic. It is the stuff that's true to you. It's you being able to say and being willing to say the things that no one else is willing to say, or maybe just hasn't said in this unique way. And one of the things that keeps our content vanilla, bland, easily overlooked, easily swept away in the noise of the competitors is that we're afraid to say what we really think. And I'm not saying like come out with the absolute hottest political takes you possibly can to divide your audience. What I'm saying is bring uniqueness to everything. I posted on Facebook today and I said, most of my existential crises, I'll bring it up here, not that you can see it, but so that I can see it. It said, I can't believe how many of my existential crises have been solved by sleep. World is ending? Nah, bro, just have a nap. And then someone said underneath, they said, for me, also food. And I said, also sex, but just didn't want to upset the PC police. And then someone said, dang, I like non-PC Dan. What else does he say? And then I kind of made a joke there and they said, non-PC, this is what they said to me today. They were coaching me and I thought it was really powerful. They said, non-PC Dan will make more money. And I've been thinking about that all day and I'm like, where am I still filtering my voice? Whether I'm like creating kind of silly content, where I'm creating serious content, where am I holding back? And I'm telling you right now that the most influential version of you is someone who doesn't hold back. It's someone who isn't afraid to share their convictions, their values, despite not everyone agreeing with it. In fact, the more people who you try to get to agree to your content, the more easily you're overlooked. Like I see people try and be out there and they're like, hot take, summer is the best month. And I'm like, dude, like 99% of the planet likes summer. Like you're psychotic if you love like rainy London or whatever it might be. And maybe that is a hot take. But what I'm trying to say is people are so boring in their quote unquote like controversial takes they're trying to bring. I'm not saying create controversy for the sake of it. What I'm saying is let yourself be seen. Share your beliefs, share your values, share your authentic self. Be the person you wish you could be if there were no consequences at all. And you might have come to this video looking for like a list of topics. And I'm telling you that the best list of topics is stuff that you are naturally inquisitive about, drawn to, interested in. It is not something that ChatGPT is going to come up with. I'm telling you right now, if you're taking directions from AI on what you should create, you deserve to have the low engagement and the low client attraction that you have, because uniqueness is the thing that draws highly sophisticated buyers. And so I mentioned at the start of this video, if you wanted the cheat sheet I basically talk about the language that you can use to attract more sophisticated buyers. You can find it in the description below. There is no opt-in whatsoever. But I really want to challenge you to understand that the core of all of this is you developing your own creative spidey senses. It is not just modeling, even though that's important. It is not just looking at what other people have done and drawing inspiration. It is creating your own generation of ideas, your own observational skills of learning kind of what's standing out to you, what's not, what's interesting, what's happened, and how you feel like you can turn the experiences of life and business into content that will hopefully help someone. So I'm hoping this video has been helpful, as this was something that came up to me before as I was sitting in the sauna in the cold plunge and ruminating on all these ideas. I've got to jump on a call right now. Sending you a ton of love. Talk soon.